I really didn't know the impact of the show until Red and I went on tour. In Hollywood, it's a little different because people are more accustomed to seeing you. I've just been working a lot, and people are beginning to know who I am when I walk down the street.
When Sanford and Son broke out in 1972, it became the talk of the town. Everyone loved the storyline and the cast who embodied the roles so well, especially Fred Sanford and his son Lamont Sanford. Their unforgettable presence and laughter kept the audience glued. However, beneath the laughter and smiles were some hidden secrets fans never knew about. These secrets were rumored to have caused the end of the show. While no one knew about them all these decades, some of the cast of the show have now decided to reveal these secrets. What could these secrets be? Keep watching to find out. John Elroy Sanford. John Elroy Sanford, better known by his stage name Red Foxx, played the unforgettable role of Fred Sanford, a widowed junk dealer who constantly bickered with his son Lamont. Foxx rose to stardom through the series. However, before appearing on the show, Fred was a comedian. He had started out performing in small clubs, and though he wasn't a mainstream star, he earned local fame, especially among African-American audiences, for his raw style, sharp wit, and use of adult language that stood out in the 1950s and 1960s nightclub scene. By 1972, things changed dramatically when producer Norman Lear and NBC executives approached him to take the lead in Sanford and Son. Fox accepted, and the show became one of the top sitcoms on American television. Fox was paid well, but soon demanded more. He wanted to be the highest-paid comedian on television, but the producers refused his terms, even though they had already raised his salary. In 1974, 2 years into the show's success, Red Foxx shocked everyone by refusing to show up for work at the start of a new season. His absence stemmed from salary disputes, and Tandem Productions, the show's producers, even filed a $10 million lawsuit against him for delaying filming. Fox claimed illness as his excuse, but everyone around knew it was a negotiation tactic. Eventually, a new deal was signed, and he returned with a higher paycheck. Still, tensions lingered, and by 1977, the show was cut short after only 6 seasons, ending abruptly when Fox finally walked away. Without its star, NBC immediately canceled the series. However, 3 years later, Fox attempted to carry on with spin-offs like Sanford and The Red Fox Show, but both were short-lived. He later found renewed success starring alongside Eddie Murphy in Harlem Nights, yet financial troubles followed him. Fox lived extravagantly, and his wealth wasn't enough to sustain his lifestyle. Multiple divorces also drained him. He was ordered to pay alimony and monthly support to 2 of his ex-wives. To keep working, he joined CBS's The Royal Family in 1991, but tragedy struck during rehearsals. Fox collapsed from a heart attack because he was notorious for faking heart attacks as a running gag on Sanford and Son. His co-stars initially thought he was joking. However, when he didn't get up to crack a joke, one of his co-stars rushed to his side and heard him whisper, "Get my wife." The medical team was called, but it was too late. Red Foxx died at the age of 68.
One of America's favorite comedians has died. Red Foxx collapsed last night during a rehearsal of his new comedy series.
At the time of his death in October 1991, reports revealed Foxx owed more than $3.6 million in taxes. His brilliance on screen and his turbulent personal life remain part of his complicated legacy. Stick with us as we unveil more on the cast. Desmond Wilson. Desmond Wilson played the role of Lamont Sanford, the devoted yet often frustrated son of Fred Sanford. Long before television, Wilson had already walked a very different path. As a young boy, he served as an altar boy in his Catholic church, and after surviving a near-death health scare as a child, he made a vow that he would dedicate his life to serving God if given the chance to live. Years later, before stepping into acting, Wilson joined the United States Army. He served 2 years with the 4th Infantry Division in Vietnam, where he was wounded in combat. After returning home, his military experience and injuries pushed him to seek a new direction, and he soon began appearing in several Broadway stage productions, including The Great White Hope, before eventually moving on to Hollywood. When Red Foxx walked away from Sanford and Son in 1974 due to salary disputes,
but when Red Foxx left after season 6,
the producers decided to continue the show without him. Fox's character was written out, and Wilson's Lamont Sanford became the central figure of the sitcom. Many fans, however, believed this was the beginning of the end, since audiences loved Fox's presence as the star, and without him, the show felt incomplete. Wilson carried the burden of keeping the story alive, but it was clear that the chemistry that made the show successful was missing. Foxx eventually returned in 1975, and the two men worked together again for 2 more years until the show's final cancellation in 1977, once Foxx walked away permanently. For Wilson, this was betrayal, despite the strong on-screen partnership they shared. Foxx never confided in Wilson that he was planning to leave. That wound lingered, and when Foxx approached him in 1980 with an offer to revive the show, Wilson firmly turned it down. He had no interest in working with him again after the earlier fallout. Wilson later turned to ministry, fulfilling the vow he had made in childhood. LaWanda Page. LaWanda Page, born Alberta Richmond, played the fiery role of Esther Anderson, Aunt Esther, the sister of Fred Sanford's late wife. She almost never joined the show, if not for Red Foxx. Foxx urged her to accept a place on the cast, convincing her to give the sitcom world a chance. Though her main line of work had not been television, Page was known for her comedy acts and nightclub performances in Los Angeles. She accepted the job offer. It was later revealed that she had been preparing to leave the stage to care for her sick mother in St. Louis. When Page joined the show, producers were uncertain about her at first. With experience limited mainly to the nightclub circuit, they doubted Page could adapt to a sitcom format. Some even wanted her written out. Foxx, however, stood his ground and threatened to leave the show if she was removed. This unexpected act of support helped secure LaWanda's role as Aunt Esther. Aunt Esther went on to become one of the most popular and unforgettable characters of the series.
Become an iconic figure in the world of entertainment. This is the story of LaWanda Page.
Page had already lived a remarkable life before Sanford and Son. In her younger years, she was a unique stage performer who specialized in working with fire. She danced with flames, swallowed fire, lit matches and cigarettes with her fingertips, and even walked across burning surfaces as part of her act. She toured the world for more than 15 years as a fire dancer before settling into comedy. Even after Sanford and Son ended, she returned for spin-offs like Grady and Sanford Arms, though they were short-lived. She also continued to shine elsewhere, appearing on The Love Boat, the famous Dean Martin Celebrity Roast Specials, and many other television programs, ensuring her legacy lived well beyond her years on the sitcom. But the story doesn't end here. Wittman Mayo Jr. Wittman Mayo Jr. was one of the stars of Sanford and Son, where he played Grady Wilson. Before landing the role, he worked with the New Lafayette Theater until Norman Lear noticed him and offered him a chance to appear on the sitcom. At first, he was not a main cast member, but during the period when Red Foxx temporarily left the show, Wittman stepped into a more central role. For the first time, he appeared in 6 episodes back-to-back, which encouraged producers to attempt a spin-off centered on Grady Wilson. The idea failed, and the show was canceled, but Mayo moved on to star in That's Cat, a children's program in Los Angeles, where he offered advice to the young lead character, Alice. He later appeared in several films, though his most recognized role remained Grady on Sanford and Son. Mayo had lived a hard life before acting success. As a young black man, he hustled through odd jobs, waiting tables, working in vineyards, and serving as a probation officer, counseling troubled boys. His career was eventually defined by television, but in 2001, Wittman Mayo died of a heart attack. Donald Thomas Bexley. Donald Thomas Bexley was another actor brought into the show by Red Foxx himself. Foxx insisted the producers include him, as the two had earlier performed together in Cotton Comes to Harlem. Their bond remained close for years. Bexley played Bubba, one of Foxx's good friends, on the sitcom. The role was warmly received by viewers, and it marked his first major television appearance. Yet Donald had long been a versatile entertainer before then. He worked as an orchestra director, singer, dancer, stand-up comedian, and actor. His travels eventually led him to Foxx, a meeting that changed his life. After Sanford and Son, he appeared in other television projects and even created his own sitcom, You Wish You Broke. He continued performing until his death from heart and kidney failure in 1997 at the age of 87. Raymond Allen. Raymond Allen played Woody, or Woodrow Anderson, the husband of Aunt Esther.
Allen maintained his role as Woodrow Anderson, Aunt Esther's husband from the sitcom Sanford and Son.
His easygoing style made the role distinct, and he later reprised his presence in the spin-off The Sanford Arms. After Sanford and Son ended, Allen appeared as mechanic Merle the Earl in Starsky and Hutch, as well as in The Love Boat and other small parts. His last television role came in 1985 with Gus Brown and Midnight Brewster. Illness forced him into retirement, though he still enjoyed attending fan events and signing autographs. In August 2020, Raymond Allen passed away at the age of 91 from a respiratory illness. Keep watching as we unveil more on Sanford and Son. Cast: Nathaniel Taylor. Nathaniel Taylor, best remembered as Rollo Lawson on Sanford and Son and later on the spin-off Grady, found his greatest fame through this role. Rollo, Lamont's flashy but good-hearted friend, became one of the show's most recognizable supporting characters. Yet acting had not always been Taylor's path. Before television, he worked as an electrician. He loved working with wires and lights and was employed at the Performing Arts Society of Los Angeles.
As a young man, he worked as an electrician at the Performing Arts Society of LA.
At that time, Taylor never imagined he would end up in front of the camera. One day, his mentor Larry Clark told him about an acting opportunity and asked him to read a few lines. Taylor tried it, and to his surprise, Clark was impressed. Clark arranged for him to meet Red Foxx, and the two men immediately connected. Foxx offered him the role of Rollo Lawson. Soon after, Nathaniel Taylor was acting live on national television and also got several other opportunities to star in other films. However, life off-screen had its struggles. Shortly after the sitcom ended, Taylor was arrested along with his brother on burglary charges. Authorities accused them of stealing computers and typewriters valued at $200,000 from Sporty's Connection Athletic Club in West Los Angeles. The case brought unwanted attention, but Taylor eventually moved forward, later dedicating himself to uplifting others in the arts. He returned to Pasla, this time as the executive director, working to mentor young performers in the Los Angeles community. Taylor also made appearances in films. He was featured in the 1974 blaxploitation movie Willie Dynamite, and decades later, he played himself in a short film titled Auditioning for Nathaniel, directed by Kevin Jerome Everson. His career may not have reached the same level again as his Rollo days, but he remained a beloved figure among fans of classic television. In 2015, Taylor was recognized by Blur One Classics LLC, which had purchased the original 1952 Ford F1 pickup truck used in the series. The company decided to restore the car, and Taylor was contacted. He made an appearance with the restored truck, signing autographs for fans in October 2015. The event reminded everyone how deeply the show remained part of television history and how much Rollo meant to audiences. Sadly, in February 2019, Nathaniel Taylor passed away after suffering a heart attack. He was rushed to a Los Angeles hospital, but did not survive. He was 80 years old. His death was mourned by many, and his legacy continues to live on through the laughter he brought to fans as Rollo Lawson. Alzenia Lynn Hamilton. Alzenia Lynn Hamilton also starred in the sitcom Sanford and Son, where she played the role of Donna Harris, Fred Sanford's girlfriend, and later his fiancée. As a young girl, Alzenia had always loved acting. She studied acting at the Goodman Theater, carefully building her skills. Hamilton began her career in community theater in Chicago, and later debuted on Broadway in Only in America in 1959.
From those early community theater performances to her debut on Broadway in 1959's Only in America,
she went on to appear in several other Broadway plays, many off-Broadway productions, and spent years performing with the New York Shakespeare Festival. When she had the opportunity to join Sanford and Son, she played an important role as Fred's girlfriend. In the show, she was written as a nurse who cared for Fred whenever he fell ill, always looking out for him in a warm but firm way. This role became Alzenia's most popular performance and the one audiences most remember her for. However, when the spin-off series of Sanford and Son was produced, she was not asked to return, and so her character did not carry over. There was once a rumor that she and LaWanda Page, who played Aunt Esther, were sisters. This came from the coincidence that LaWanda's real sister was also named Lynn Hamilton, leading many to believe they were family. It was later revealed to be fake news. In June 2025, Alzenia died at her home in Chicago at the age of 95. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the cast of Sanford and Son. Gregory Sierra. This was another American actor who appeared in Sanford and Son, taking on the role of Julio Fuentes, the Puerto Rican neighbor of Fred Sanford. He later served in the United States Air Force and had dreams of serving his nation, but life led him to acting in a very unexpected way. One day, Sierra accompanied a friend to an audition at an acting school.
Will give us decent homes, schools for our children.
Intending only to show support. However, for fun, he also auditioned himself. Surprisingly, it was Gregory who was selected in place of his friend. That chance moment sparked his acting career. He began working on stage, eventually touring with the National Shakespeare Company, where he played roles such as the Duke of Austria in King John at the New York Shakespeare Festival. He held on to theater for a time before moving into film and television. His credits included The Flying Nun, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Papillon, and several others. From 1972 to 1975, Sierra appeared on Sanford and Son as Julio Fuentes, adding humor and energy to the show. He later starred in other sitcoms and even joined the cast of Miami Vice. However, he left that series because he did not want to continue living in Miami, where the show was filmed. Gregory Sierra passed away in Laguna Woods, California at the age of 83 after a long battle with stomach and liver cancer. Melvin Edward White. Melvin Edward White, popularly known as Slappy White, was one of those whom Red Fox brought to the show Sanford and Son. He insisted that a role be given to Slappy White, and he eventually played the role of Melvin White, Fred's TV-watching buddy in the show. Melvin and Fox's relationship ran deep. Right from the 1950s to the 1960s, they worked together as stand-up comedians. From a young age, Melvin had been a rebellious child who loved shows. It was reported that he ran away from home to join the circus. This was probably because of his upbringing and environment, which was surrounded by a lot of nightlife. He lived near the Old Royal Theater in Baltimore and used to dance outside for the people who gave him coins. He also sold candy by the theater, but committed other small mischiefs. At 13 years, there was a high possibility that he was going to be sent to reform school because he refused to attend school and was always absent. This made him run away from home and join a traveling carnival, where he became a tap dancer. Melvin made a living as a tap dancer, but he was caught by the police, who knew he was underage, and returned him home to his parents. But this didn't change his mind toward show business as he continued performing in shows as a dancer. Comedy, however, was in his blood. It took about 19 years for him to start comedy, and he was loved instantly as he made the people laugh. He became popular when he and Red Fox formed a comedy team in 1947. They toured from coast to coast with the Billy Eckstine Orchestra for more than 4 years. Then he went on his solo career in 1951. But it came with sacrifices. Slappy's solo career began when singer Dinah Washington requested him to introduce her act at the Black Hawk in San Francisco. He started as a chauffeur to her, entertaining her with jokes as he drove her around. She found his jokes funny and laughed. Then, one day, while she was arriving late on stage, she didn't want to keep the audience waiting, so she asked Slappy to say something funny while she prepared. Slappy didn't waste this opportunity. He made the people crack up so much that Dinah loved it, so she kept him as a part of her opening act. However, he was sacked as his jokes were mainly targeted at the whites. Dinah was upset and threatened to quit if they kept him on. He worked with Dinah Washington and then established himself finally as a solo act and was invited to perform in the Massachusetts State Senate. After the show Sanford and Son, he continued comedy, but later died after a heart attack just 38 days after the death of his longtime friend George Kirby. At the time of his death, it was reported that he was planning to retire and was changing location from Los Angeles to New Jersey. What do you think of the Sanford and Son show? Which moments of the show were your favorite? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.